that stir up the soul. Because everybody's walked through a storm. And sometimes the only thing that you can grasp is your faith that God will see you through. This walk is a mystical one. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you start to walk a conscious journey with the Spirit of truth of God within you. Now, notice I said conscious. At that moment, you start to live in two worlds. Jesus said, I am in the world, but I am not of the world. You start to live in two worlds. What do I mean by that? There's an aspect of you that longs for a greater realization of truth, that longs for the peace that passes all human understanding, a longing to realize, what are you here for? What are you here to do? What is my purpose, God? Why am I on the planet at this time? That something about us is beyond our DNA, beyond our gender, beyond our race, beyond our nationality, beyond all of these things that we think matter. It's a journey of walking into worlds. You still have to pay bills. You still have family. You still have work. But then there's this spiritual life that pulls on you, that is a longing in your soul, as the psalmist says, as a deer pants for water, so my soul longs for you, oh God. There's a part of us that knows that it's more than getting up, going through the routine, eating and going back to sleep. So when you come and hear songs like that, it reminds you that you are, to quote the Blues Brothers, on a mission from God. And when you are reminded of that, then you go out on purpose to be the light. As Reverend Gary Simmons says, a unity minister, he wrote in his book, The Eye of the Storm, he said, you are either the way of God or you are in the way of God. And that's what we have to remember. I am showing up, you are showing up, we are showing up to be the way, to be the path for somebody who might not be as awakened as you are. And if they don't see the light shining in someone else, they might not know that there's a light inside of them. This is why we're here. This is why we're here, to take the consciousness that you learn and develop in here so you can take it out there and encounter people so they don't have to show up as ruckus and chaos on our streets. Now, let me get to what I wrote. Good morning. Before I start, I want to let you know that Reverend Wells sends his love. He's, as you know, away working on his doctorate for a few weeks. Make sure you send him your love and your prayers as he continues to do that work, because it's a lot of work. We're beginning a brand new lesson series for the month of July. The new lesson series is titled The 4 Stages of Healing. And it is based upon taking all of the principles of spiritual healing and putting them in 4 stages or steps. There are numerous books on spiritual healing, numerous CDs, numerous downloads, numerous videos, but many of them can be covered in the 4 stages that will be covered in the month of July. Got it? All right. Now, this ministry was founded on the spiritual healing of our founder, the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. Are you aware of that? Yes. All right. She was given 6 months to live by medical science in the early 1950s. Her testimony and healing is the cornerstone of this ministry. And she taught thousands of people the truth about who they are, and as a result of her testimony, not something she read about in the book, but her testimony, other people learn how to activate the healing power within them. See, it's one thing for a person to tell you this is possible. It's another thing for a person to show you that it's possible. All right. So today's lesson is the first stage, and we're calling this stage the forgiveness process. And it is the first step in really being free of any mental, emotional, financial, or physical bondage. But before we undress what forgiveness is and how to practically apply it in our lives, let's talk about what spiritual healing is first. Is that all right? All right. Pick up your bulletin. Let's take the first point together. Healing is restoring to original purity or integrity. It is the expression of the innate spiritual wholeness within every person. So healing is the renewing, restoring, regenerating process that restores the body back to its innate wholeness or integrity. I want to make sure you get that. See, it says restoring. That means it used to be a certain way, right? Something happened. You ever seen a house that had to be restored, right? Fixer-upper, right? So we know that we are what? Restoring the body back to the divine pattern. The divine pattern. It was created to work a certain kind of way in divine order. New Thought Christianity professes that humanity has a spiritual nature that is already whole and complete. We believe that since our origin is spiritual, the body can reflect our innate spiritual wholeness when the mind is free of the error beliefs that constrict the expression of God as perfect life. So, what does that mean? Let's make it simple. You can be healed because you are a spiritual being. You can be healed because you are a spiritual being. Let's affirm that in the first person. I can be healed because I am a spiritual being. See, that's where it has to land. I can be healed because I am a spiritual being. Not because I'm good. Not because I show up at church. Not because I help little kids. But because of who I am. I can be healed because I am a spiritual being. I am the infinite expression of divine mind. We have to know that. You have to know that you are God expressing through a soul and a body. What does that mean? God expresses as individual life. That individual life is you and me in all expressions and forms of life. So when you realize who you are, that means you can be healed. Now, many of us come up with many reasons why we can't be healed. You don't know how long I've had it, Rev. You don't know what the doctor has said. This runs in my. You can be healed because you are a spiritual being. See, there's a part of you, the spiritual part, that has never been sick, never been weak, never been deprived, never been broke, and never been unhappy. The real of you is I am that I am, not I am my mistakes and my past. You have to know God in you is your health. See, this is a realization that you have to work through. Let's take the second bullet point together. The first step in all spiritual healing is to believe. And the next step is openness and receptivity to the stream of healing life. So, Jesus taught many times in the Gospels about the power of faith. Belief activates your power of faith. Belief is just what you accept as true. That's it. Whatever belief you have about a thing is what you have accepted as true about that. If you think you can never be out of debt, that's true for you. If you think that you will never have enough money to do the things that you need, that is true for. If you think that you can't be healed, that is true for. If you think you don't have enough strength, enough conviction, enough faith, enough wherewithal to make it through and push through whatever the experience is, that's true for you. But here's the beauty of it. You can always change your beliefs. You can always change them. I was looking at a video last night, and I actually posted it on Facebook, and they had a video of one of the top UFC fighters, and he was training with Bruce Lee's top student, Dan Inosanto. Dan Inosanto is 78 years old. He moves like a cat. Reverend Brown watched it and commented. Now here's the thing. People would say, how can a guy that's 78 years old move that swiftly and that smoothly? Because nobody told him that he couldn't, Reverend Carey. Nobody told him he couldn't move like a cat. See, that's our belief. He was faster on the video than the MMA fighter. Now, here's the thing. If it's a principle, it can be duplicated. Don't miss that. If one person has done it, another person can do it. God didn't run out of move like a cat at what we call advanced age. But you have to believe what's possible for who? Right. See, you must believe that the real of you is whole. Even if you're in the hospital bed with sensors and tubes going everywhere. You must know that God in you is your health, and you express your spiritual wholeness in every experience. You have to know that for you. And if you need help, make sure you get people around you that can see that with you. I'm not saying don't have people come around that can brush your hair, but have somebody that can stand in the gap. See, when you have firm conviction, you open yourself up to what already is. Say already is. See, God is already life. God is already love. God is already substance. God is already power. God is already wisdom. You open your mind to healing by getting back into the flow of what already is in spirit. Are you with me? See, we have a saying around here. When I showed up in 1993, I heard people saying this all the time. There is nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. Oh, you all remember that? There is nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. There is nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. So the revelation or the expression of God shows you that which was appearing as error in the body is nothing in spirit. It might be a fact humanly, but it's nothing in spirit. And when God is revealed, that which is nothing sits down and God shines forth. See, we should always know that we are in the reveal God business. See, if I'm in the reveal God business, I don't have to worry about praying for a parking spot. You know, it's kind of funny how we'll pray for the things we think we can get. Come on, God, let me get this parking spot. God got me a parking spot. Hallelujah. I'm not saying don't pray for that, but just show how the expectation level is so low. But when you need that job with that money to get that whatever. Now I don't know what's going to happen. You were just praying for a parking spot. So God can deliver a parking spot as easily as God can cure what people call incurable. To God, it's no different. It's the same thing because there's nothing in God anyway. I really want that to land. You're getting into the flow of what already is. Reveal God and receive peace, health, love, fulfillment, and prosperity. One of the giants in the New Thought movement, Ernest Holmes. Anybody ever heard of Ernest Holmes? Ernest Holmes wrote, "The ability to control your experiences and have them result in happiness, prosperity, and success lies in your own mind and the way you use it." He went on to say, in the same paragraph, "My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking." I'm going to read that again because that's $1 million worth of information if you really get what he's saying. He wrote, "My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking." So if my thought is in control of my experience, that means that I am in control of my experience because I am the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing. Trying to lay some foundation here. Ernest Holmes also wrote, this is beautiful. He wrote, "The law of mind responds to a persistent idea and automatically maintains it." What does that mean? This means that you must consistently impress your subconscious mind with thoughts of health, wholeness, strength, and energy. Why? Because if you consistently impress it, the idea, it will maintain it. Don't miss that. You have to consistently, you say, well, how do you do that? How do you consistently impress? Guess what? We do it all the time, but we have a word for our normal way we consistently impress the law of mind. Worry. You got it. If you can worry, you can pray. If you can worry, you can meditate. Because both of those things are consistently impressing the law of mind. And the law of mind is saying, I got it, let me reproduce more of this. So when you worry, when you complain, when you get agitated, when you get angry, you're actually telling divine law, give me more of that, because that's what I'm consistently impressing on the law of mind. Are you with me? Now, we're not telling people not to go to the doctor. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. We tell you, go to the doctor and get the help you need if that's what you need to do. We teach that it's wisdom to not try to demonstrate beyond your level. Can't fake it. You can't talk trash to Michael Jordan to get on the court and can't play. It's just real talk. But we do believe that the perfect life force within can be activated by medication or meditation, depending on your level. The end result is healing, and that's what matters. So don't fight medical science. Support it and transcend it with your consciousness of truth. You can, through a renewed mind, produce health in your body. And if anyone has ever been healed using spiritual principles, then potentially anyone can. Are you with me? All right, third bullet point. Let's read this together. Through the exercise of faith and words, our spiritual quality is fused in unity with the power of Christ, and the work is marvelously accomplished. Again, all we're saying is that we must think, feel, speak, act, and react in alignment with truth. Keep speaking the word in faith for your healing, even when there's no evidence of the breakthrough. Like the prophet Elijah, was it Elijah or Elisha? It was one of them. And they asked him to pray for rain. Elijah, right, thank you. Thank you, Bible teachers. And he told them to prepare for rain. They said, we don't see any rain. And he says it was a cloud just as large as a man's fist. That's not a big cloud, but it was the beginning of the storm. And sometimes your faith is just enough to start the downpouring of healing, prosperity, and peace in your life. Now, let me be clear about this. This isn't the job for the lazy truth student. This is why so few people can heal. That's what it's all said and done. See, you must be dedicated and focused on truth no matter what, and that takes discipline. If you're unwilling to discipline your mind, you can't demonstrate this truth at the level you need to transform your life. You have to take back control of your thoughts. And when your mind tries to go away, you have to what? Pull it back. Sometimes my daughter and I go walk with my sister and her two dogs, and my sister has to yank those dogs back. Get off that grass. Get out of those bushes, because the dogs are just going, smelling and tasting everything. That's how the mind will go. It'll go all over. Ooh, what's this? Ooh, that's shiny. Ooh, this is pulling my attention. Yank it back and say, this is where we're going. No, we're not stopping here. So now that we have a foundation to work from, let's talk about forgiveness. Let's read our fourth bullet point together. Forgiveness is a process of giving up the false for the true, erasing sin and error from the mind and body. Now, it's a couple of things. First of all, it says it's a process. And we want you to get that. The process can happen in an instant, and sometimes the process takes a little bit longer. It's a process, all right? But the process is giving up the false for the true. False what? False thoughts, false concepts, false beliefs for true thoughts, true concepts, true beliefs. Truth based upon the truth of who you are spiritually. It is the erasing of sin, which means missing the mark in our thinking. All right? And error, meaning thoughts that are not consistent with truth, from both, hear me, the mind and the body. Because if I'm walking around with a bunch of erroneous concepts, sooner or later they will figure out a way to show up in my body. You all remember Reverend Christina Knox Walthall? She used to tell us that when you go to the doctor for the surgery, they're cutting out your thoughts. Yeah, never heard it, see? It's okay, you heard it now. The point of it is this: forgiveness has nothing to do with another person. It has nothing to do with what they do or don't do. As a matter of fact, the person can still be trifling right now, and it still has nothing to do with forgiveness. Forgiveness completely happens in your own mind. Gerald Jampolsky wrote, forgiveness means giving up our hope for a better past. I love that. It's one of my favorite quotes. Forgiveness means giving up our hope for a better past. That means that I don't have to go back romance. I don't have to play with it. I don't wish I had a different mama or a different daddy or different upbringing or married the right person or not the right person or had the right job or should have went left instead of going right. Forgiveness means giving up our hope for a better past. It is right. See, Nothing has to change for you to forgive. That's a tough one for people. Forgiveness only asks one question. Do you want to be whole? Do you want to be whole? Do you want to be whole? That's the only question forgiveness asks. Because if you want to be whole, you'll give it up. Reverend Coleman used to say, no one is worth you being sick, broke, and unhappy. Forgiveness is a choice to express wholeness. Remember, you don't forgive people to let them off the hook. You forgive to free yourself. Know why you do what you do. Emmett Fox wrote, you must forgive injuries, not just in words or as a matter of form, but in your heart. And that is the long and short of it. You do this not for the other person's sake, but for your own sake. Resentment, condemnation, anger, desire to see someone punished are things that rot your soul. Such things fasten your troubles to you with rivets. They fetter you to many other problems that actually have nothing whatever to do with the original grievances themselves. I don't want you to miss that. He's saying, not only are you hurting yourself, you're attaching yourself to problems that are rotting your soul. And not only that, you are also attaching yourself to problems that had nothing to do with the original grievance. Because those beliefs and condemnation, anger and resentment and all of that mess, they produce their own offspring. Like Robin Williams used to say, baby's kids. Those type of thoughts have their own offspring. And you don't want to deal with baby's kids. I get it when people come to ministers, and this happens to us quite often. They come to ministers and they say things like this. You don't know what that person did to me. Only thing we can say is, you're right. We don't know. But we can say, I do know what you are doing to yourself now by refusing to forgive, let go, and let God. You and that person were and can only function from your own levels of understanding. That's a hard lesson. In the book, 3 Laws of Performance by Steve Zaffron and Dave Logan, they wrote that the first law of performance is how people perform correlates to how situations occur to them. Performance and occurrence are always perfectly matched. What is that saying? That people act out, act up in ways that are consistent with how they see life. See, because their word means nothing to them, see, they don't think that you will trip when I violate my word with you. Since I'm not being honest with myself, it's easier for me not to be honest with other people. If I am criticizing and kicking my own self in the behind all the time, it's a lot easier for me to criticize and kick other people in the behind. Performance and occurrence are always perfectly matched. If you ever ask anybody why they did what they did, they can explain it, even if they knew it was wrong. This is why you can't have your healing through forgiveness be based upon the acceptance or lack of acceptance of anybody else. Jesus often told people they were forgiven before he healed them. Why? Because it created the mental space for the healing to happen. People carry hidden guilt, hidden pain, hidden anger, hidden stress, hidden frustration, hidden jealousy, and hidden envy. Now, I know we show up to work and we show up to church and we put on our best and we pretend like those things don't happen. But a lot of people are walking around with a lot of hidden stuff, hoping that they don't get exposed. When we remove these mental and emotional barriers, we create room for the healing. Jesus was and is the master psychologist, and he knew people who are stuck in negative, depressed, and angry states of consciousness will only reproduce more illness and bad experiences until they free their minds. Are you hearing me? I want you to get free today. Sometimes the question of how do I know if I've really forgiven myself, someone, or situation will be asked of ministers. How do I know that I'm really free of that? How do I know I've really forgiven that? I used this analogy a few years ago, but it bears repeating, so work with me. All the biological mothers, please raise your hand. How many of you remember childbirth? So I was like, I was knocked out. But the majority of you remember childbirth, right? How many of you remember that it was painful? Somebody said, oh yeah. How many of you are still in pain from childbirth? See, forgiveness is complete when you can remember the experience, remember that it was painful, and you aren't in pain anymore. The experience or person can no longer trigger an emotional response. Then you're free. See, when you get there, you can thank God for the lessons learned and choose to go forward without being hitched to the wagon of past hurts. That's how it works. See, if you talk about, oh, I let that go, I forgave a person, and you still walking around with that energy, and when you see that person, that stuff stirs up, it's not finished, it's not complete, it's not healed. See, it's uncomfortable. Can we just talk real talk? It's uncomfortable because we like to think that we're competent people. I can handle this. I got my stuff in order. I got the education. I'm efficient in my job or my business. I got my stuff together. Then you start talking to people about their family issues and their relationship issues and their intimacy issues and things of that nature, and you discover that people are barely holding it down below the surface. It's sort of like playing a game of Twister. Red hand, left hand on red. Right foot on blue. And the game keeps changing. And you're trying to keep it all together. But what's actually happening is sooner or later, something will be exposed. Now, here's the challenge with the exposure. Many times, the person who receives the outlet of your anger, your frustration, etc., is not the person who you had the experience with that caused it. So somebody now has become the sacrificial lamb for what you refuse to deal with in your soul. So you're mad at the boss and you're taking it out on your wife. You refuse to go off when your husband doesn't show up at the right time, and you take it out on the kid. And the people that are closest to us are the people who most likely will get the brunt of your bruising. Really be clear about this. I use the analogy that if you have ever been around people who've had, ladies in particular, who've had, or children have had physical abuse, certain gestures make them defensive. There are times when we are verbally and emotionally abusive and we don't realize what we're doing, and we're sort of like Godzilla, and we're walking through the town, but our tail is knocking buildings over. And we don't realize, I'm not doing anything, I didn't say anything to you, knocking stuff and being destructive all over the place. We have to be mindful about how we engage with people. A good question to ask yourself is, are the people closest to me being harmed by my unresolved soul issues? Are the people closest to me being hurt because I refuse to forgive something daddy did 40 years ago? Am I harming the people who I love the most because I am too, I'm going to say a word and please don't be offended, cowardly to deal with my own stuff? Barack Obama said you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig. You can put lipstick on this truth. Show up at the classes. I'm showing up at the church. I'm going to put my hand up, but Martin tells me to put my hand up. And walk out of here still in pain because you refuse to deal with what's in your soul. Don't be in a place like this that can help you transform and transcend your experiences and come in here Sunday after Sunday and walk out of here in pain. Be willing to say, I want to be free, not just for yourself so you can live a life that is free where you can exhale. Most of us are walking around here so tight. Our bodies are tight, and it's showing up as illness because we're not relaxed, because we're not comfortable with our own lives. This is why you forgive. And you give the people that are closest you the best you. Your loved ones deserve the best you. They don't deserve the mean you. They don't deserve the unresponsive you. They don't deserve the set it off you. They deserve the best you. And you can have every justification in the world to be mad and be angry. This is happening, that happening, the government this, the mayor that, the layoff at the job or whatever. But when it's all said and done, you are responsible for what goes on in your own soul. And what religious teacher after religious teacher has taught people is this: the primary way you free yourself is forgiveness. If it was an easier way, somebody would have told us by now. In wrapping it up, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You don't have to be around anyone or any place you have outgrown. Forgive, release, and keep it moving towards your new good. I like to give homework because this is the practical part. How do you work with forgiveness? And if you don't have to worry, if you need to buy a CD, because I give homework and it's wordy. But I give it the way it's given to me. First step of homework is this. I want everybody to read Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 through 35. Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 through 35. Now, as you do this, I want you to remember that this is teaching the law of mind, not about a personal God. It's an analogy. It's a parable. It teaches how our unforgiveness binds us. And I want you to do, after you read the scripture, is write down your understanding of the scripture. Can you do that? All right. Number 2, pray and ask God, is there anyone or anything you need to forgive, including yourself, for past mistakes or parts of your body that might not function the way you desire? You get that? Pray. Anybody you need to forgive, or yourself, past mistakes, or are you upset about a part of your body that's not working the way you want it to work right now? Because, we can get upset with our bodies. Condemn it, and 99% of it is working right. But that's another lesson. The words that came to me are these. Oh, wait a minute. After you do the exercise about praying, then write down everyone and everything you need to forgive and why it affects you. Write down everyone and everything you need to forgive and why it affects you. That gets you clear. Then pray these words, if you choose or your own. This is what came to me. God in me frees and releases you. I let go and let God. I am love. God in me frees and releases you. I let go and let God. I am love. Do this 3 times a day for the rest of the month. Your ego will flare up, especially when it's people you don't like. So tell it to shut up and sit down. Last homework assignment. Get a prayer partner and pray for 7 days in a row. It doesn't make a difference when you do it. Just do it within the month. You will pray that they are released from their past and free, and they will pray that you are released from your past and free. You get that? Now, this is a real good example of finding people in your church that have the right consciousness and have them work with you with this. And if you are not comfortable with that, call the prayer ministry, 773-568-1717. It's on the back of your bulletin, and ask them to pray it with you. What are you doing? Jesus said, well, 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, in my consciousness, in my understanding of truth, there I am in the midst. All right. That's my homework. My extra recommendation is this. Make sure you show up on July 18th for the Jesus' Methods and Miracles workshop. Because through lessons, music, prayer, and meditation, we're going to drill down on not only the intellectual concept of healing, but the experience of it. So make sure that you take advantage of what's being offered at your church. Got it? Finally, you can be free now. You can be healed now. You can go from broke down to blessed up now. You are a powerhouse, but you must know it for yourself. Don't leave here the same way you came. God is here waiting for you to open your mind to the spiritual reality of your wholeness and express health. Don't miss one of these lessons. Make sure that you are like Jacob. You're going to take a hold of these lessons and you're going to say, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. And so it is.